and Rob McGregor welcome you to a place where all kinds of phenomena flourish. Voices whisper ancient secrets, signs and symbols are abundant. UFOs, ETs, ghosts, and even the dead move about freely. Here we meet authors, researchers, and investigators of the mysterious, the strange, and of the inexplicable anomalies that surround us. Step out of the everyday world and take a journey into the mystical underground.
Let's try it one more time. So we'll start in 3, 2.
Welcome to the Mystical Underground. Thank you for joining us. This is Trish McGregor and
Rob McGregor,
our producer and tech magician, John Posey. You can go to themysticalunderground.com where we make regular blog posts and where you can find out about our books. Among them are Phenomena, Harnessing Your Psychic Abilities, The Secrets of Spirit Communication, Sensing the Future, and Aliens in the Backyard. Our latest book is called Mind-Blowing Synchronicities, the latest science, stories, and research. Trisha's latest novel is White Crows, and Rob's most recent novel is called Tulpas. If you're watching us on YouTube, we would appreciate if you take a second to click the like, subscribe, and notification buttons so you never miss an episode. If you prefer to listen to the show, it's available wherever you listen to podcasts. Please subscribe there. Also, I'm an astrologer, so if you want your chart done, email me through the Zoom website. Our guest today is Jill Jackson. Rob?
Okay, Jill is a spiritual teacher and psychic medium. She is the recipient of the Psychic of the Year Award for 2015 and 2016 from Best American Psychics, as well as its 2014 Social Activism Award for her volunteer work with animals. Jill is the author of Manifesting Your Magic in the 5D, Going Beyond the Laws of Attraction. Her earlier book, I thought, had an eye-catching title, Mississippi Medium, My Journey from Southern Baptist to Talking to the Dead. In her previous life, this time around, Jill was a certified public accountant in Los Angeles. She lives in Mississippi now with her husband, Daniel, who is also a medium, and their 5 dogs. Jill and her husband lead spiritual retreats to vortex power spots around the world. Welcome, Jill.
Glad to have
Rob.
you.
Thank you. Thank you, Trish.
I like your picture back here of the phases of the moon. Yeah, that's
yes,
cool.
I love that picture. Thank you.
Yeah. So how does, Jill, how does one go from being a certified public accountant to a psychic medium? Tell us about your journey, please.
Yeah, great question. Well, I was born able to see the spirit world. I've been able to see spirits since I was a child, but like many of us, we try to be normal and fit into the normal world. So I went to college, became a money manager, CPA, did that for a while in Southern California, and I was doing quite well financially, but I was not on my path. So I got sick multiple times and finally decided to start listening to my own spirit team, encouraging me to jump off the cliff and leave that comfortable, abundant, crazy and fun lifestyle and join this crazy, fun and mystical lifestyle. And so that's what I did.
Right.
Well, now, as an animal communicator, what are some of your most memorable experiences with animals? I mean, you got 5 dogs. We've got one, and he's a lot of work.
I love animals many times more than some people, because animals are unconditional. But I think of a funny story right now. I was talking to this dog for one of my clients, and she was newly engaged, and her fiance had moved into the house, and her dog started being really mean to him and not making him feel welcome. So she scheduled a session, and so the first thing her dog said to me was, "He stinks." And I said, what do you mean he stinks? And she said, I just don't like him. He smells. And so I asked the dog to, describe it further. And she said that perfume was, or the cologne was so overpowering. And so I said that to the woman, and she started bursting out laughing. She said, I have tried to tell him that he wears way too much cologne. And I said, well, the dog is obviously using that as, an excuse. So I just talked to the dog and said, there's room for the growing family. Let's learn. If he promises to stop wearing so much cologne, will you promise to start being nicer to him? So that it was hilarious how the dog had to tell me that about the cologne.
As you were talking, one of our black cats came up and patted my leg, like saying, hi.
Yes. Hello there. I have another funny story with a pig. I went to an animal rescue farm one time, and I told the guardian, don't tell me anything about any of the animals. Let me just go around and see what they have to say. And so I went to this one pig, and he was so proud, and he showed me that he had a crown on top of his head, and he said, do you know that I'm royalty? And he showed me this crown. Well, the guy that runs the place started laughing, and he said, well, jokingly, we call him King Charles. So that pig was letting me know that he loved being royalty.
I have to interject here because we've been doing the podcast for almost 3 years. This is the first story about communication with a pig. So
Yeah,
that's the first.
that's unique. But how do they interact with you? How do they speak? I mean, I know it's mind to mind, but it's...
Yes, telepathic. And it's just the same type of communication that humans have through telepathy. And animals communicate with each other that way, and they communicate with us as animal communicators as well.
Do they give you images?
Yes. So it depends on what your particular gifts are. I am clairvoyant and clairaudient and clairsentient, so all different ways they'll talk to me telepathically. And then, like with the one pig, he did show me the image with the crown on top of his head. So it just kind of comes in many different ways.
That's funny.
Cool. So when you were a child, you said you were having psychic experience. What were those like? What kind of things were you experiencing, and how did that relate to other people in the world for you?
Yeah, so the psychic abilities came in later. It was the mediumship abilities that came in first, where I was able to see the spirit world walking around my house with my eyes wide open. But back then, I could not hear them. I could only see them. My clairaudience had not kicked in yet. And so it was kind of confusing for me because I could just see them walking around my house and trying to get my attention, but I could not hear them at the time. When my grandmother passed away, I was 12 years old, and that was my first experience hearing clairaudiently through the telepathy. She showed up floating above my bed and in full form, and telepathically told me not to worry about her anymore. She wasn't sick, that she had her health back, and that the other world, what some call heaven, I call it the other world, is just so beautiful, and that she was in a really good place. So that was when the clairaudience started, and I could start hearing at that point.
Did you tell your parents about that experience?
Yes, I actually ran in my mother's room. Now, my mother was a medium also, but we didn't talk about it a lot. She never wanted the responsibility to offer herself professionally. And I ran in her room and told her that I told her about the entire visitation. And she told me that Gran had been in her room that same evening. And then my grandmother started opening the jewelry box, pulling it out so that the music would play. And she did that for the next 3 nights, just to, again, tell us hello and to let us know that she was good.
Well,
that's pretty
interesting story. So, can you tell us the story of how you prepared to meet your husband, Daniel? You have an interesting discussion about that in your book.
Yes. So one of my colleagues, I had mentored her for years. She had come to me for a reading in Southern California. I told her in that reading that she was going to be doing the same thing I was doing years down the road. And at first she didn't believe it. And so she started studying with me and mentoring with me. And one day she received this download and told me that I was getting ready to meet my future husband, who was my twin flame. She told me that he would have a love for shoes. And she told me he was 5'11". She told me he had long hair and a ponytail. And she told me that his name would start with a D, and that I would meet him like in an upscale kind of bar restaurant. So, I kind of filed that away. And one night I was in Asheville, North Carolina, left a play, walked into a wine bar to get one glass of wine before walking home for the night. And in walks Daniel, and he had everything she said other than the long hair. And I had never told him all the details. I just said, my friend predicted you. And, right away he started talking about how much he loves shoes. And I was kind of laughing to myself, like, okay. Then I called her and told her, I said, you were spot on with everything except the ponytail. And she said, I'm telling you, I saw it. I don't know what's up. Well, 3 years later, my husband, out of the blue, says, I've decided to grow my hair into a ponytail. And I look over one day and he's got the long ponytail exactly like she had described it. So I had to call her and tell her she was 100% accurate.
Did he know that he was going to meet you?
He was led through synchronicity. And I mean, I could just talk about this for hours and hours, but yes, in many ways, he wasn't going out that evening. His guides said, just, go in here. It's important. He was able to see the spirit world as a child as well. Being around me, it brought it back out within him. But he was able to know where missing children were when he was a child. He could see people walking around his house as well. He did go through my 2-year-long training process, though. We're huge advocates of training and, learning the ethics of what we do.
Boy, Asheville, you mentioned Asheville, they really got walloped with this Hurricane Helene. I was
just
shocked.
breaking my heart. And I know so many, clients and colleagues that live there, and I've been in touch with them. So let's please all join together in prayers. It's just unimaginable what they're going through.
Yeah, I had always thought that Asheville would be safe because it's up in the mountains, that hurricanes wouldn't affect it, but apparently not.
And it's really interesting, Rob, because I wasn't told what was going to happen, but one of my colleagues was going to South Carolina for 2 weeks to work there, and she said, do you want a little mountain writers retreat? Do you want to come and just get away for a little bit and be there in my house and write? And I've learned, I was hard-headed for years and I didn't listen to guidance, to my own guides, but I've learned to tune in, and I would tune in 3 different times. Every time my guide said no, turn her down, don't go. And now I understand why, because everybody in their neighborhood, they're trapped in.
Apparently all of Western Carolina, all the roads leading in there are totally blocked.
Yes.
There's a little town off the coast in the Gulf, Mexico and Florida, called Cedar Key, that we went there for years, and we were considering living there. We looked at houses, and I remember I asked the realtor, what about storms here? She said, well, they say it's every 100 years, there's the 100-year storm. And I just didn't feel that was quite accurate.
Right.
And there's been several 100-year storms there since that time. And now
it's devastated.
It's devastated. People can't even go back there now. And all the businesses are gone. I mean, there wasn't that many businesses, very small town, but they're all gone. But it's a very tourist-oriented place. And also, it was a fisherman's place too. It was big fishing
Fisherman's paradise.
paradise. Yeah, so that's
Heartbreaking.
Yeah.
Do your guides give you any information about climate change, how widespread this is going to be?
Yes, absolutely, Trish. And probably about 15, 20 years ago, I did predictions and I would post them on my website. And then after a while, it was kind of getting depressing, and my guides asked me to quit doing them and to quit posting them. I was also being watched from some people that anyway, I won't go into all that, but so I stopped doing them. But my guides asked me to start back with the predictions probably about 6 or 8 months ago, that it was needed as long as I did it in a place of creating awareness and not fear. Because the last thing, and I'm a huge, my book is about manifesting and co-creating. So the last thing I would ever want to do is create fear. But I do feel like, and what my guide said to me is, when we are given the gift of prophecy, it's not meant to just be kept in a selfish way. Let's share this information with whoever does want to receive it. So yes, sadly, especially in the last week too, I was told this was just the beginning of many natural disasters in the world, but especially our country. I was told that 2025 was going to be a pretty intense year for seismic activity, more hurricanes. And I had predicted this hurricane, by the way. I had put it in my predictions 2 months ago on my YouTube channel. I knew where it was gonna hit. And I felt that there's 3 total large ones this year. So the message is for people to listen to your own guidance. If you're told not to move somewhere, listen to that. If, like you said, Rob, the realtor told you that, but you used your own intuition, listening not to move there. So that's my message. Let's listen to our own knowing, our own intuition. Let's stock up on some supplies and just be prepared, because I do feel there's certain areas. I've been getting some rumblings of the new Madrid for a while. I feel that that's a potential, very strong potential in 2025 for the new Madrid quake, which kind of goes up through the Mississippi River area.
Now, you're in Mississippi, right?
Yes.
Are you in a safe area?
I've been told that we live in a lake. I've been shown that it will flood. My colleague got the message that it was going to flood. I am going to be moving, and I'm waiting for my guides to say when. They've kind of given me March time frame, so that kind of gives me a little bit of a clue of when the new Madrid, because areas of Mississippi will flood. And again, I pray that I'm wrong on these natural disasters. I would never want to be more wrong on anything than something like this.
Yeah, it wasn't too long ago that we were kind of making fun of these people who predict hurricanes, the scientists that they're in the University of Colorado, and they're up in the mountains in Colorado and making predictions about hurricanes, and they had so many predicted for this year, and nothing was happening at all through August. And
their numbers are still way down, though.
Yeah, right. But all it takes is one big one like that to really wake you up to that awareness of how dangerous they are. So you were raised Southern Baptist in the Deep South. How did you have the courage to come out of the psychic closet?
Well, I had a lot of questions with organized religion. I witnessed a lot of hypocrisy, and the all-loving creator God that I personally have a relationship with did not fit in with some of the horrible things that were being preached about, and then also being taught that what I do is evil and of the devil. And I knew that that was not the case. So I left organized religion years before I came out of the psychic closet. So it was kind of a graduated stepping stone.
I was one day over at a friend's house who was going through a lot of changes, so I brought my tarot deck, and a husband said, "No, no, you can't do that. This is evil." I said, "Okay, I'm out of here." Yeah, I mean, it's
Well,
amazing how people react.
it really is. Yet they will listen to, the prophecies of everything written in the
Right.
Bible, which, by the way, man wrote. It's
Yeah.
like, or they'll say, well, no, they channeled that from God, but we're not supposedly having the gift of channeling or prophecy or using the modalities. It's kind of mind blowing.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So in your
Okay.
book, go ahead, Trish.
No, I was just going to ask her about the law of attraction. Do you know Esther Hicks?
I don't know her personally. I know of
Uh-huh.
her work.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
So how is your book? How is your approach to the law of attraction different? How does it differ from hers?
Yes, great question. I have always been a master manifester throughout my entire life, and I followed the teachings of the law of attraction. Um, but what happened was when I wanted to have a biological child, I suffered 5 miscarriages, and no matter what I would do, and I would each time I would follow more teachings from the law of attraction, and then I named my, I knew she was going to be a daughter, and I named her, and then oh no 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 oh, and the mantras, I did everything possible, and each time the miscarriage would come at 9 weeks. And so
Jeez.
after my hysterectomy and coming to the grief in the terms of knowing that I would not be a biological mother in this lifetime, I also went through what I call in my book perceived manifestation failure, because on top of the grieving, I felt as if I had failed at the law of attraction because I did everything, all the steps. So I went on a journey and a quest to find out the reasons why. And after, it was about a 3-year period, and I decided to write the book Manifesting Your Magic in the 5D, because I learned that past lives, soul contracts, and other spiritual laws play into manifesting as well. It's not just the law of attraction. The law of attraction is just one ingredient, one brick in the foundation, so to speak.
Hmm. It's a tough lesson though, with 5 miscarriages. Wow.
Yes, and I feel like, and a lot of my clients over the years, Trish, would have readings and say, I've done everything in the law of attraction teachings, but I haven't been able to manifest my soulmate, or I haven't been able to manifest the career of my dreams. Why is this? So we look at the soul's blueprint, and this is where the Akashic records come in as well, because if we can look at our blueprint and see what we, with our own free will, which is another spiritual law that I talk about in my book, we decided before we incarnated what we wanted to achieve, who we wanted to meet, and also the soul growth challenges to help our souls evolve, because the largest soul growth comes from our challenges, not from our successes, right?
What? So when souls are making these decisions, what do they have the help of other spirits?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. Our spirit guides are right there with us, and they can look at all of our past lives. They could look at areas and different people too that are going to be in our lives. And we've channeled about this. My husband and I were part of an experiment through the Robert Bigelow Institute, the Biggs experiment,
Right.
and we channeled for 8 months answering questions. And one of the questions was, is there fate in destiny, or is there free will? And different mediums across the country were part of this, and nobody could know what the other mediums were getting. And it's been published in a book now. But what we channeled is that it's a mix of the two. So the fate and destiny part is in our blueprint, but we also have the spiritual law of free will to alter, change those contracts as we go along the way, or choose not to listen. I know myself, I was pretty hard-headed for so many years and a little bit stubborn. And even though I would get guidance from my spirit guides, I would choose to be stubborn and think that, my ego knew best and not listen. And we have that free will right to do so.
Now, you said you knew that this was a daughter. Have you met this girl in this
Yes.
life? Okay.
Well, I mean, in spirit still,
Yeah.
yes, I have. And I named her Jackson, and I changed my name to Jackson after the city of my birth. And I honored her. I was going to name her Jackson. And so that's where my last name came from, and
Well,
honored her.
Has she incarnated?
No.
No. Okay. She's waiting for
No.
you.
Yeah, she's on the other side helping.
Interesting.
So I have
Yes.
another question related to climate change and things that are going on. You said you're seeing more changes and more disruptions with the weather and the climate, even coming up next year. We've been thinking for quite a while of getting out of South Florida, where we are near the West Palm Beach area, and moving up closer to our daughter who lives in Orlando. And I wonder if you can see anything about the Orlando area. It's a little further inland. Would that be safer? Is that going to be?
It's also
under,
higher.
Yeah.
We're at 10 feet above sea level here.
Yeah.
Yes.
Is-
What I can say, Rob, is it will definitely be safer than the coastal areas of Florida. My clients that either live on the coast of Florida or are thinking of moving there, they're the guides have just come in and said, again, listen to your intuition. It doesn't mean that everybody that lives there is going to be in danger, but I do see a lot of the coastal areas, and I've seen it for years, having a lot of effects of the climate change. The other areas, the coast of North Carolina, and I mean, I was predicting that, and now it's happening. There's houses floating away on the coast of North Carolina. We're just in the midst of the climate change, and I feel like it's going to intensify. So, when we've seen these changes that might take 10 and 20 years to, see the effects of it, I feel like it's going to come much, much quicker.
Back in 1973, I tell everybody this, I had a dream that I was in a rowboat and I was rowing towards the Bahamas because South Florida was underwater. That dream has always stuck with me because when I woke up, I thought, why would I be rowing to the Bahamas, which is almost lower than, it has some mountains, but nothing, most of it's about 10 feet above sea level, just like Florida.
Yes, that's interesting. Well, sometimes our guides will just give us whatever analogy that'll help it stick with us and our knowing. And that's the thing too with predictions and timing. I mean, the other world, time, space doesn't exist like it does here in our dimension. The same. I mean, I was told to leave Southern California in 2012, and another one of my colleagues was getting the same visions because I felt like the big quake was coming then, and it still has not happened, but you can see the activity is increasing now. So I would feel like it would be safe for you to listen and really pay attention to that dream, Trish.
Mm-hmm. And not take a rowboat to the Bahamas.
Right. Exactly. Yes. Yeah. And I do feel that Orlando, I don't see things going that far inland. I see a lot of increase in wind activity, but again, that's almost everywhere. I've seen that increasing dramatically, whereas before, if we would have a windstorm, it might be, 40 or 50 miles an hour. And now I'm feeling like these windstorms are going to be 60, 70, 80 miles an hour that are going to come out of nowhere. So there's a lot of reasons that this is going on, but I feel like you would be a lot safer in that area for sure.
Yeah. So what are some of the additional spiritual laws that enhance and harmonize with the law of attraction?
Yes, great question, Rob. So, two of them that I call them the pillars of the law of attraction, are the law of action and the law of vibration. So, we understand frequency and energy, and we understand how powerful our thoughts and our words are. So, if we're wanting to manifest something, and we start thinking about it, the next step is the spiritual law of action, which tells the universe that we really are serious about what it is that we're wanting. So in other words, if we are wanting to make a move, we start talking about it. We start saying, okay, if we do this, it will be Orlando. And we start looking into, okay, what's the housing like there? So that's the spiritual law of action. By doing that, that creates the spiritual law of vibration. And everything is timelines. What my guides have shown me as well is the reason that, and especially those who have been on a spiritual journey, who have integrated more of the fifth dimension into our lives, there's more timeline potentials. It's really interesting and fascinating because it's more of a co-creation type of scenario, because we've done our shadow work, we've learned our blueprints, we've understood our past lives. And so part of this co-creating comes in, and that vibration creates a wave of energy. And as long as it all corresponds with our blueprint and our soul family, then it becomes effortless, and we start listening to the synchronicities. I heard that you have a book on synchronicities.
We have several of them.
Yeah, several.
Beautiful.
I mean,
It's
synchronicity
so important.
it really is. I mean, it does become a guiding force.
Yes, and that spiritual law of vibration is part of the energy that brings in the synchronicities for us, to kind of have those pebbles to guide our way.
So do you think that the synchronicity is a spiritual law?
I feel like yes, signs and synchronicities.
Right.
Or you can look at it as a tool. I kind of chose the 10 spiritual laws in my book that really were talking more about manifesting,
Right.
that kind of go along with it. So I would say signs and synchronicities are more of tools that our guides use. It's kind of like you can use tarot cards, as you know, Trish, or the pendulum. Those are spiritual tools that help us with our manifesting.
Well, astrology does the same thing. Like, I was looking at the stuff that's coming up in 2025. It's kind of shocking. You've got you've got the 4 slowest moving planets changing signs all in 1 year. That's rare.
Wow. Okay, so that definitely then goes along with the predictions that I'm seeing as well. So you're seeing that as an astrologer.
Yeah.
Wow. That's it.
It's going to be a handful.
Yes. Interesting. But yes, you're right. Astrology is an important tool. There's so many different tools at our disposal to help us navigate our journey.
So was there any particular event in your life that led you to write this book on manifesting in the 5D?
Just what I had learned from, why I was not successful. And so I started thinking about, and then I would have clients too asking me the same question and not understanding that they had read all the law of attraction material and followed it. And so I thought, the book, The Secret, was actually published 20 years ago.
Right.
Can you believe that it's been that long? And there hasn't been an updated version, so to speak. So my book takes, some of those same teachings, but it brings it forward 20 years because the consciousness level of humanity is ready to embrace the other spiritual laws and understanding the soul contracts and karma, the spiritual law of karma. So there's so many different pieces. And I write in my book, I have such gratitude for the pioneers, such as Esther Hicks and the pioneers of the law of attraction movement, because they got us thinking about our infinite potential, right? And helping us remember that we have the tools. We can create. However, there's, like I said, that's one brick in the foundation, and it's important to have the rest of the tools as well.
Yeah, I have, we took an Esther Hicks cruise in the Caribbean. And so we had, is it a week, Rob? Anyway, she gave multiple hours of workshops. That was a real treat, but it got me to thinking, okay, I had a lot of questions. And a lot of it starts with the animals. We just lost a cat. So what happens to their spirits?
Yes, and I have communicated with them, Trish. My belief is that they go to the other world as well. I believe that animals have souls, and I have also been shown that humans and animals can also incarnate as each other. Now, it's not that often. It doesn't happen as often, but it does happen. And I have like one of the animal communication readings that I did, and this was through a telephone. I couldn't see the woman's apartment in New York, and I was talking to her cat, and the cat was telling me that this was the first lifetime that she had been a cat, or I apologize, he had been a cat, and that he was in a past life with her, but he had been her horse. And she started bursting out laughing, and she said, "You're never going to believe this." She ended up sending me a picture because she had a saddle in her living room as part of her decor, and that cat would lay up on that saddle. It's like, what are the odds?
Yeah, that's
so.
Great.
Yes,
what a
it's
great
my
story.
belief. Yeah, it's
Well,
my belief that they do go
so
to
they
the
do
other
come
world.
back and become friends again. Yeah.
Yes. In fact, 4 of our 5 dogs right now are reincarnated from different times. One of the rescues, he told me that he was my German Shepherd Bruno from when I was a child. So I ended up naming him Bruno. We just rescued him. He's a blue tick hound dog. And he tricked us. We weren't even planning. We didn't need another dog, and he tricked us into coming home. But my beloved Shih Tzu, who has been transitioned for 2 years, and before that he was my cat, he still has not come back. And he told me he would, but he's just not ready. Yeah, to keep waiting for him to come back. So they have free will as well.
That's pretty. I remember after one of our dogs died, I had a reading with an animal communicator, and I said, well, has Noah, he was also a golden retriever. I said, has Noah been with this before? And she says, oh yeah, he was a squirrel in your backyard. And which made sense because he really enjoyed running around with squirrels,
Yes, I love that.
Yeah, it was.
We've had 3 golden retrievers, and we've always thought that that there's like particles of human awareness that are in them, like not that there's a human being, a human living inside, but part of a human consciousness, because they are so aware, and they have quite a vocabulary. They know so much that you can talk to them, and they're all different too. This one is his specialty is being stubborn. I mean, this dog, you can call him, and if he doesn't want to come, he's just not going to move.
That's hilarious.
I was standing by the pool. I think Trish wasn't here, and he was laying here, and I said, "Nigel, come on out! Nigel, come on out and join me in the pool." And he just heard that, "Join me in the pool." No, I'm not going out there. He never goes in there.
Yes, they're very intelligent, and they teach us so much about unconditional love and
really
forgiveness.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
And he also gets along with the cats. Whatever cat comes into this house, he's fine with.
That's wonderful. Yeah, one of your cat, you have you said the cat that came up to you, Trish.
That's actually my daughter's cat that's staying with us. He's a black cat. His name is Binks.
Okay, he has the ability to see the fairy world, specifically fairies. I was hearing pixies and fairies with him. So if you see him looking off and nothing's there, that's what he's tuning into.
Well, now we have
kingdom.
two black cats because we also had a black cat, Nala, who, so, he's having these two black cats running around with this blonde golden retriever. It's kind of funny.
That's diverse, huh? Diversity.
So
Love it.
Yeah. So you teach about the shadow and limiting beliefs. Can you help us understand what that means? What that's about?
Yes. So many of us have been programmed and conditioned, through families, religion, schools, society, to believe that we are not capable of achieving certain things, or either our ego mind through our own fears creates the realities in our consciousness to keep us from reaching our full potential. So our traumas are stored in the subconscious mind. So when we go back to past lives, when we go back to our childhood of traumas that have happened, they get stored in that subconscious mind. So shadow work is about uncovering those traumas, getting to know every aspect of ourselves, because the spiritual law of polarity teaches us that within each one of us we have a light and a dark. We have a light and a shadow. So the reason many people get triggered is they have not done their own shadow work. They have not uncovered those stored traumas in the subconscious brain. And when we can embrace all of that and go through the healing, it also helps us reach the super consciousness easier. The way I kind of liken it is, so if we have a very thick forest and we are trying to really see what's on the other side of that forest, it's not as easy. But when we clear out those trees, then it's much easier to get clarity on what's on the other side. So when we're trying to get from the conscious mind to the superconscious mind, clearing out that the cobwebs of the subconscious is really, really beneficial. And that's what I help people do.
Now, do you tap into the Akashic records when you do that?
Yes.
You do? Okay.
Yes, I do.
Well, okay, so can the Akashic records be altered?
Yes, and it's one of my favorite things. I teach this at some of my weekend workshops that I lead, is changing our soul contracts, and it's a whole thing. I lead everybody through, and we go to their records, and it's important to just do one at a time, to take usually a person in our life that we're wanting to alter that and change that. And we have a free will choice to either close out that contract, or to amend that contract, or to continue learning the soul growth opportunities from that very contract.
Interesting. Because Rob, that's
Yes.
the kind of thing that Ken talks about.
Yeah. So, Jill, I understand from your bio that you attended Arthur Findlay College in England, which is the world's foremost college for the advancement of spiritualism and psychic sciences. I wonder what that was about. And do you consider yourself a spiritualist? I mean, that's actually a religion in a sense.
Yeah, I believe some of the same things that they do, but I'm not part of the spiritualist church, so to speak.
Right.
But I am a huge proponent in studying and education. I trained there in England years ago. I trained at Omega. I trained in New Jersey. I trained at Lilydale, and I now teach at Lilydale
Oh,
in New York, because there's nothing more dangerous, in my humble opinion, than an untrained psychic or medium. Because when somebody says, well, I was born with my gift and I don't need any training, that is the ego talking. Because we all need training in anything we do, to learn how to control our gift, and rather than have it control us, learn the art of message delivery, learn the ethics around it, learn how to deliver a message and when not to deliver a message. So there's so many components, and that's why I love teaching. I have an online school for those who can't come to my in-person school. I've trained over 200 students in Mississippi and the surrounding areas. So yes, training is super important.
Have you ever been to Casadega? That's Lilydale's sister community. Okay.
I have, years ago. Really cool place.
It is. It's very different.
Yes.
I mean, it's unique in Florida. So
Trish has done some workshops there at the
it's a great little place.
One of the bookstores.
Yes.
And,
I love it.
Yeah. One time we were there, and Trish was doing, I guess it was a tarot workshop, and we were just finished. And,
Films astrology.
Astrology. Okay. So we were just leaving Casadega, and Trish got it was either a call, or I think it was probably a text message or email from our friend Whitley Strieber, and he says, Trish, have you ever heard of Casadega? I have a message that I should go there. And we said, yeah, we just left.
You can't make it up. That's awesome.
No, you can't. I mean, it's that kind of synchronicity. It's like, oh, okay.
Yes.
You're doing the right
That's
thing.
all. I love it. Love it.
Yeah.
And that's what's so cool about this world, and I can get on my soapbox, because it's why, religion tries to create such fear, because, it's easier to control, people when they're literally instilled with fear. But this world, I cannot imagine living a world without the magic and the mystery of so many different dimensions and the other world. It's incredible.
Do you see people becoming less divisive in 2025?
Sadly, I don't, Trish. Sadly, and I mean, I feel like in a lot of ways it's going to get worse for a while. But in 2019, my guides, in November of 2019, right before COVID hit, my guides said there's an event coming that is going to affect everybody in the world. It's going to change the trajectory of your life on this planet. It'll never be the same again. And I didn't know what it was specifically. I was not told that it was a virus. I was just told that it would affect everybody. But what my guide said is that there's 2 trains. And they said what's coming up is people will choose which train they want to be on. Are they wanting to stay in the fear-based, divisive, third-dimensional reality? Or are they going to choose the 5th dimensional train of unity? And there'll be a time period over several years where people can still have the train come into the station, and they're going to say, I'm going to get on that train. But there's coming a time period, and they showed it to me, where the tracks, like they're parallel right now, but they're going to veer off, and there will be no going back at some point coming up. So to answer your question, it truly depends on what your reality is, because my guides, I channel a group consciousness by the name of Solomon, and Solomon has said it depends on what lens you choose to view the world from. Do you want to view the world in a very divisive, hateful way, or do you choose to view the world in the new paradigm? And that's where your reality will begin anchoring. So
are these like 2 different timelines?
Yes. Yes. And what I've been shown is that the realities are splitting so much. And that what'll happen over time is that the people who are in our lives that are choosing the third dimensional train, so to speak, for a metaphor to use, they choose that, they will start gradually disappearing from our awareness. And I'm witnessing it. You may be witnessing it. I've talked to so many people who are witnessing it, where it's like they still know these people, but it's almost like they're watching a movie. They feel a little bit disconnected from who they have been. Are y'all witnessing
Yes.
that to some?
Yes, definitely.
Yeah, what I do, they disappear from Facebook for me with a click.
Right. Yeah.
We have, or I have at least, a lot of Facebook friends related to UFOs and alien and all that whole field. And surprisingly, there's a lot of them that are on the other side of what I would consider the shift that's going on in consciousness and awareness, which is really expanding in the last 10, 15, 20 years. But there's this counter shift of another sort that's going on to fighting it. I mean, do you see it that way too? Yeah,
absolutely. And it's truly mind-boggling. How things can be so vastly different in the consciousness of someone. And another thing my guide started channeling at the end of last year is that the time has come for us to sort of stop trying to talk people into believing what we believe,
right.
or
that doesn't work.
Don't even waste your life force energy any longer. If they choose to witness how we live our lives, and by witnessing that, they decide to make the change, that's one thing. But my guide said, do not waste your life force energy on that any longer.
Now, are you familiar with James Roberts' Seth books? You mentioned Solomon, so I thought.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
You should write Solomon Speaks.
Yeah, that was coming next. The book that I'm almost finished with now is Children of the New Earth, and I started channeling about the Golden Ray children in 2014, and so I'm trying to get that book finished. So that's the one comes out, and then I will write the Solomon Speaks 100%. Yes.
That's great.
So what do you think of light language? Are you familiar with that? Do you do it?
I am familiar with it. I love light language. I have done it in the past. It hasn't been coming in recently. I'm going to say the last time the light language did come in was probably about maybe 4 years ago when I was channeling. So that's kind of interesting. But I love light language, and you can feel the energy, even though we don't consciously know what's being said.
Right.
But when I channel, I'm a full trance channel, so I have no awareness of what's coming through. So I have to go back and listen to the recording afterwards.
Jeez, that could be disorienting, can it?
It is. It's disorienting, and it does take me a little while to kind of come back into my body. When I was channeling years ago, I've gotten used to it a little bit more over the years, but I remember I was on a retreat, leading a retreat in Glastonbury, and we were upstairs, and I had been channeling, and I thought I was fully back in my body, but apparently I wasn't, and I went tumbling down the steps like I didn't even know the steps were there. So that wasn't a pleasant way to come back into the body, No,
that could hurt.
Yes.
Now, do you and your husband trade psychic impressions or predictions?
Yes. My husband is, he's a Reiki master teacher, a sound healer, psychic. He's an incredible medium as well. We've done galleries together where it's called double demonstrations, where we connect to the same spirit communicator. But yes, we love working with psychism.
Yeah. So in your channeling, Jill, have you had any contact with alien beings from the Pleiades or wherever?
Yes.
That seems
Yes,
to be
absolutely. The group consciousness of Solemn is from Ninth Dimension of Pleiades. So yes,
yeah.
and I have had personal UFO experiences, galactic experiences, if you will, going back to childhood. The first ship, I was about 9 years old, and it was hovering. This was in Mississippi, and massive ship hovering in my neighborhood right in front of our house. And so I've been able to connect and communicate with the galactics for a
Yeah.
while.
Yeah, there's a famous case of Mississippi, two fishermen who were contacted and abducted, and
Yes,
one of them I think is still alive. I see something on the internet once in a while from him.
yes,
Interesting.
I've heard about that one as well.
His
Yeah.
Binks came in again. He senses you.
Yes, they do. They will.
Yeah. Binks.
So
Sweet.
you you have a new book you're working on then, you said? And this is about
Yes,
about children. Can you go a little more into that?
yeah, it's called The Children of the New Earth. And in 2014, I channeled about the new breed of children called the Golden Rays that would start coming in between 2015 and 2017. And my ego mind kind of argued, I guess you would, or questioned, because, I wasn't able to have children myself. So why am I channeling a book about gifted children? And my guide said, well, you were a gifted child, you understand it, and part of your soul contract was to be a mother to many, and to be able to help guardians understand how to work with their own sensitive and gifted kids. So yes, the Golden Rays come in on the 12th ray. They've never incarnated on this planet. They're very wise. They've been on other planets, and they have a lot of light, and they came in to help Mother Earth and also help with the technology. So the diamond rays, the rainbow children, and crystals predominantly are to help people, whereas the golden rays, their main purpose is to assist Mother Earth.
Yeah. What about the indigo children? I've heard about them in the past.
Yes, and I'm an adult indigo. The indigos started incarnating predominantly in the 1950s up to the 1990s, and the indigos were kind of the first waivers, if you will. And we kind of did things in a more outspoken, kind of aggressive way, like the change makers, and then the crystal children came in, and they were a little more soft-spoken on trying to bring in healing and things like that. That the activist, a lot of indigos have been activists in one way or another.
Yeah. It seems like the younger generation now are also very out there, outspoken. Our daughter's 35, and she says the generation after her, she's surprised how much they will stand up to authority and speak out.
Yes. What year was your daughter born?
89.
89. Yeah. So she's right there on that cusp there. Crystal or indigo. Some of them, it's kind of like astrology too. Some of them have the traits, from
Right.
both, especially when they're incarnated on that cusp area there. But the rainbow children, they're the ones that really started talking a lot about gender identity and yin and yang and male and female and all of that. So they kind of brought that wave of awareness in. It's just fascinating.
Yeah.
Well, what's interesting, our daughter for the summer is out in Washington State leading whale tours, and she is just fascinated with these creatures. I mean, well, like for good reason. I mean, they're so majestic.
Yes. I would love to do that. That's so amazing.
Yeah, we've been out there twice and gone out on the boat with her, and it's
incredible.
yeah.
Sounds incredible.
Yeah, and she knows so much about these orcas, especially, and and we watched the orcas, and the orcas watch us too.
Yeah.
I mean, that was
Absolutely.
interesting thing.
You know, and she's tuned in to the animals. So that's a huge trait of, you know, a star seed or these sensitive and gifted children who are aware.
Yeah.
It also works with dolphins, but it's this
in,
is
in Florida, yeah.
yeah, Florida, something totally. Their whales are just so much bigger. They're
Right.
you know, and it's
Yes.
incredible.
Trish, real quick, and I know we're getting close to the end, but I think your mic got unplugged
Oh,
when the cat jumped out of your lap.
okay, yeah,
There you go. Now you're back.
okay. Now I'm back. He had to listen to Jill.
Right.
Well, Jill, tell people where they can get in touch with you about your website, your book, all that.
Yes, absolutely. It's www.jillmjackson.com. I always tell people don't forget the M, because if you Google Jill Jackson, there's a singer named Jill Jackson, and I promise you do not want to hear me singing. So it's Jill M. Jackson, and I've got my book here. It's,
great.
Manifesting Your Magic in the 5D. And that's on my website under books. You can find it on Amazon along with the Mississippi Medium book. And then I have a High Vibe Tribe community as well, which is a lot of fun. We do 3 live events a month with channelings and
cool
interviews and talking about spirituality.
Do you announce those on your website?
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Okay,
Yes.
it was great talking with you,
John,
Jill. It was
when's
fun.
this going to go up?
That'll be 2 weeks from
2 weeks?
today.
Okay.
Mhm.
And we'll send you the link.
And
Thank you.
And
Thank you
I
so
have-
much.
I have to
This is so much fun.
real quick. I
Oh.
got to bring it back down to the 3D world real quick for just a second, because when Jill joined, we were talking about college football. She lives in Mississippi, so multiple choice question: Ole Miss, Mississippi State. I don't care.
Mississippi State.
All right, there you go.
My dad's from that area, so have to go with state.
All right.
All right.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Well, thank you, Jill.
a
This was
lot,
so much
Jill.
fun. My
Oh, I
cats
loved
loved it.
Yes. Big hugs to the cats. Thank y'all so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.